Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Fort Worth Roots. This episode could be brought to you by your company. We are looking for 3 final presenting sponsors to help us keep Fort Worth Roots doing the thing that it's doing. We want to drive more attention to local 501c and small businesses that are having trouble getting their voice out. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. I certainly have, and the people that own businesses definitely noticed. We're in kind of a media blackout. There's no way for locals to get the word out. Fort Worth Roots wants to be the solution for that. We spent the last 5 years building this little platform, and we're ready to really start taking things even more seriously than we have in the past. So if you'd like to hear more about how we can do that together, if you've got a business inside the North Texas area, holler at us. Our email is media@fortworthroots.com. This episode happens every week, this recording rather, out at McFly's Pub every Tuesday from 5 to 7. And don't call it a networking event, but what we do is we get interesting, creative people that are currently working on a project. They've got a business, maybe an author, a podcaster, a filmmaker, whatever. We want you out there with us because there's no better way to communicate than in person. So meet with us next Tuesday. We're going to have Kaylee Ryan, I think Melodies is what she is on Instagram, Kaylee Ryan Melodies, and she will be with us next Tuesday out at McFly's, answering questions and singing some music for us and giving us an excuse to meet up and have a good time. If you haven't been out to McFly's Pub, it is a 1980s Back to the Future themed pub, and they've got pool tables, darts. Outside they got cornhole and some other yard games, and a big old fire pit that you won't need for about 6 more months. But it's a great space. It's located out of the East Gate for the military base in Fort Worth. And if you haven't been there, you really are missing out. The drink prices are a lot lower than most of the fun places that you might frequent here in Fort Worth. I walked into Billy Bob's Texas the other day, and I ordered a drink, and I couldn't believe the prices. Sometimes, some places here in Fort Worth, it's better to just pregame. And McFly's is a great place for that. Make it one of your stops this week. Go check it out. McFly's Pub, located on, it's Meandering, but down there where they're at, it's called LTJG Barnett Road. Just put it into your Google Maps. This episode is special to me because this is a guest that we have had on the show. I think this makes the 3rd episode that we've done with him. And the last 2 times I read his book before we did the recording. I didn't get to do that this time, and I hate that. I always, if I have an author on, I want to read the book and then have them on the show. So we are going to sit down with him as soon as I get done with this book. And who knows, as fast as he pumps out new works of literature, he might already have another book ready to go. So this episode is all about his new book, Haunted Tales from the Hospital. If you guys need to get a hold of us, again, our email is media@fortworthroots.com. Please give it up for our friend out at McFly's Tuesday night, Mr. Darrell Bartell. And let's start the show. All right, folks, welcome to another Tuesday night at McFly's. Let's get loud for Darrell Bartell. All right. Love it, love it. Thank you guys for coming out. Darrell, good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I was, busy weekend, and, man.
What'd you do?
Does it ever stop?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What'd you do?
I'm all over the place. Well, I just direct people to our Instagram page to see what's going on over the weekends. It's a whole story. So.
Well, I do want to say again, congrats on your engagement.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah.
No,
she hasn't taken it back yet, so.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, so
that's
far.
a good sign. You know?
I really do appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Bet.
So, Darrell, if you guys don't know, this is maybe your 3rd appearance on the show?
3rd appearance, my 4th book.
A 4th book.
Yeah.
But 3rd appearance on Fort Worth Roots.
Yeah.
That's what's important, right? I mean.
So I got back here as quick as I could. You know?
Well, can we? And I know it's not about the book that I think this is the one we met on. No. The book you did with the shorts. That's
the Corona monologues.
That's the one that we met on. That was our first episode.
Yeah, 125 auditioning monologues based on the COVID-19 pandemic.
And it was great. And then the second one that I read was a vampire novel,
Burying the Vampire.
and that's my favorite book that you've written so far.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, because there's going to be possibly authors out there that have sat down with me before that are going to hear this and be maybe slightly disgruntled. But that was the most entertaining book by a local author that I've had on the show that I've ever read.
Well, thank you.
I actually picked that thing up and I read it. I'm not going to say cover to cover in one night, but usually what happens with me when I read a book, I'll read the first half of the book 20 times before I finish it. It's life and ADD and whatever, excuses. Mm-hmm. But with that one, I was in it. I wanted to know what happened next, you know. So for me, as not an avid reader, I think this is a pretty glowing recommendation. That was one hell of a story, and it kept me engaged the entire time.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
that's my job.
Now, you had kind of flirted with the idea of a part 2 with that book. Is that ever going to happen?
I've been. Matter of fact, at when COVID-19 hit, I was set on working on a second vampire novel.
Yeah.
And then I started having monologues just jumping out at me from the internet to newspaper to television and so forth. And I just said, I got to get this down. So I started, for every monologue I wrote, I must have missed about 5 to 10, maybe 15 subject matters that were dealing, with COVID. Uh-huh. And I'm trying to work on a second COVID-19 book, auditioning monologues, which will include 10 plays that I wrote for Zoom. And I'm also working on a second vampire book because my daughter wants it. Who I'm hoping to have adopted here in the next 2 weeks if she hasn't already been adopted now. But yeah.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, she's. Gosh.
Do you have a foster child?
We're getting personal now.
We are getting personal.
Okay,
it's a podcast. This happens.
That's what we authors have to do. When I was in Germany, I had a relationship with her mom named Sherry, and it was the best 2 weeks I had in Germany. And we, because she was in the National Guard over there, on assignment just for 2 weeks. She left. We kept in touch. The time just didn't turn out right. I mean, she was involved with somebody else. I wasn't. Then I was involved with somebody else. She wasn't. She got married. I got married. And, a daughter had, come out from from Sherry's marriage. And out of the clear blue, her daughter, her mom was, talking about me. Said, well, let's see if we can't find him. So we got on the net, found me, we reconnected. And then, I don't want to tell too much of my daughter's story, but my daughter had said, can I ask a favor of you? I said, what? Will you be my dad? I thought, okay.
Now, how old was she at that point?
I want to say, God, maybe 20.
Okay.
And I said, well, if I'm going to be your dad, I've got to come up there and give you away for your wedding. So I went up there. It was Valentine's Day, and gave her away for the wedding. First marriage didn't last long. So I got up there and gave her away for her second wedding. So she's doing pretty good with her second husband.
Good.
And but I said, if we're going to do this father-daughter thing, why don't we just go ahead and why don't I just go ahead and adopt you? All right. She said, okay. She was okay with that, and it took a while to find an attorney that was reasonable that would do adult adoptions. Her mother passed away. It's been about 4 years. Maybe longer than that, before COVID, due to leukemia. So, I've kind of, I've always had, my regrets. I think she'd have, I think she and I probably would have ended up getting married if she hadn't have passed away. But, it's, I got a daughter, she got a father, so there you go.
It's a win. It's a win.
It's a win. It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
For sure. Okay, well, I took you down a rabbit hole, but
that's what we authors do.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta put it out there.
Well, podcasters too. We love rabbit holes.
Yeah. So my life's pretty much an open book from what you see in the author bios, the podcasts, interviews, that I've done.
Yep.
I mean, people want to get to know the authors. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm exciting and what have you, like Hemingway or Poe, but I'm not exactly boring as the grass grows. So
Do we have anybody else in here that's a big fan of Barry and the Vampire?
Well,
We got a
John
couple.
and Steve. I'm pretty sure John was with me when I concocted that thing and wrote it, and was going through they're also with me on the second book that I'm trying to get through.
Okay, so you guys are tapping your foot too, right?
Yeah.
When's it going to happen? When are we going to get this
Second
part?
Right now, I just finished a semester at Tarrant County College.
Okay.
So I've got kind of with the exception of working security, I've kind of got the month of June off. So I'm going to try and feverishly work on that, get as much of that, taken care of as possible.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time. It might end up turning into a third book. I don't know. It should have happened right after I published the first one. It should have happened after the second one got published, but unfortunately, life kept getting in the way.
It's like waiting on the next season for a series on Netflix, right?
Pretty much.
Well, and a security job, depending on what you're doing, could afford you the opportunity to maybe do a little writing.
It does.
There you go.
And a lot of research, too.
Uh-huh.
A lot of research. When you have a portable DVD player and
DVD player?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I know. What are those? I was kind of, I didn't realize just how much the times had changed when I went to Best Buy. And I was looking for some new movies to check on a DVD player. I said, well, we had to get rid of those. I said, why? Because they weren't selling all the streaming services online on TV.
Yeah.
They've taken up all the time, and or they've basically taken the DVDs and turned them into antiques.
I drive by it every once in a while. I think the road is Filder in Arlington, and it's probably about a mile before you get to I-30. But it used to be the mecca of my childhood happiness. There was a Blockbuster and a Pizza Hut right next door. And we would, peruse the aisles, and we'd find the movies or the games that we wanted to play. And then we'd go and we'd get us a couple of pizzas, and we'd head back to the house. And
who would have thought VHSs were extinct?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, you kind of, I don't know. I felt it coming. Now you get into any of the newer cars, I think for the last 5 years, they don't even have DVD.
They don't even have CDs.
CD players in them.
They don't have CD players. They've got a nice Sirius radio station where you get 200 stations
if you've got the subscription or Bluetooth, and you can link it to
70s,
your phone.
80s, 90s, pop rock and so forth, to Prime Country and all that, all the sports channels and so forth that are on there. So it's amazing.
I had a pretty impressive CD collection whenever all the Sirius and XM radio stations started coming up. So I didn't need any of that. And then I bought a newer vehicle, and they gave me a free subscription. I think by then the two had already merged. It was like Sirius XM. And, free subscription, 3 months, try it out. And the thing that got me was the comedy channel. They had Raw Dog Comedy, and it was hilarious.
Comedy, Ellen DeGeneres.
Well, the thing was, you could put that show on, and it was like a time machine.
Yeah.
If you were driving from here to, say, the panhandle of Texas, you'd put that comedy show on, and, I mean, it would cut the trip in half, if not a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just kind of zone out on it. So I ended up getting the subscription for a couple of years, but it wasn't for the music.
Well, I get a subscription, and I'm just there like, oh wow, I remember this when I was a kid. Barry Manilow. Wow, that takes back a lot of memories.
It's got everything until the clouds start rolling in and you lose signal. Then you're looking for your CDs, but nowhere to put it. No player.
To put it.
Well, let's talk about the new book, Haunted Tales from the Hospital.
Haunted Tales from the Hospital.
Showing the camera there. I usually like to read the books before we sit down with the author. In fact,
you didn't read the book?
Did you give me a copy of this?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, that answers your question.
But it's been available on Amazon. You'll get one after the show.
I should have purchased one and read it. So no. Usually what we like to do is read the book and then have the author on, and that was one of the hang-ups for our last 2 episodes because you were just waiting on me to read the dang book.
I wish I would have waited if you'd
Well, I didn't even think about it, and I really should have gotten into it. But it looks incredible. I'm going to read the back booking for it real quick, okay? Or is there something else I should?
No, go ahead. Read it away.
Winner of the 2022 Communicator Awards for Distinction in Writing and the 2025 International Impact Book Awards for Performing Arts, Film, Theater, Dance, Music. Author Darrell Bartell mixes American Horror Story with Grey's Anatomy to bring 3 terrifying tales of the macabre to life. First one up, meet Army war veteran turned security officer battle the Mayan god of death to save the love of his life. Next one up, a daughter of a Navy SEAL whose dreams of making the Olympic swim team cut short due to a drunk driving accident, only to discover her true heritage. A lot of question marks there.
Yeah.
Third one up, follow a battle-hardened Marine turned social worker who uses tarot cards to find a notorious serial killer back from the dead. Now that one, if by any other author, I would take off the table, but that sounds like Darrell Bartell's got a really good story to tell.
Don't forget the last paragraph.
Oh! Captivating tales that will keep you up at night, making you wonder, could it happen to you? Well, dive us into this one.
What do you want to know?
Since I haven't done my homework.
You haven't done your homework. Okay.
Let's start off. Let's talk about the first one where the Army war vet is battling a Mayan god. Mm-hmm. Where did you even come up with that idea?
Well, I was working security at a hospital, and I want to give a shout out to all my good friends at Medical City Alliance Hospital, because I was always like talking with them and trying to get their stories and trying to get some ideas, like why they became nurses, why they chose the profession they were in. I was thinking, there's got to be something I can do with this as a writer, And then I left the hospital, and all of a sudden it was like, bam! Okay, now instead of trying to get realistic stories, let me do a little, twist, here and there. Mm-hmm. And I was on the first one, I was trying to think of doing something along the lines of like, with Egyptian mythology, and I thought, that's kind of been done before. Then I was thinking, okay, what else could I think of? Then I started thinking about, the Mayans and the Aztecs. And I try to do stories that have not been brought to the page before.
Okay.
A little something, do a twist. In this particular case, something always happens to the protagonist, the individual of the story. So Jimmy Roberts, was a battle-hardened Army, veteran. Did 6 years and did a couple of tours over in Afghanistan, and he got out and became a security guard, and he was there. And this, I don't want to give too much away, but he came in on Halloween because it's called a Halloween story. So he came in to work some overtime on Halloween. Got called to the back, and this old decrepit woman comes is being wheeled into the emergency room because she was like giving the ambulance attendants, a load of grief and so forth. And all of a sudden, she clearly hadn't had contact with soap and water in a long time.
So they start clamoring for security.
Pretty much, yeah.
We need some help here. We got a complicated order.
Yeah, so she walks in, she reaches out to Jimmy and goes, "Help me, Jimmy, help me, help me." And Jimmy's like, "Who the fuck are you, ladies?" So
she's got some familiarity.
Yeah.
There.
So the nurse goes ahead and looks at Jimmy and says, "Do you know her? I've never seen that woman before in my life." So then, well, maybe this will help. So he picks up she hands him a wallet. Figured probably fell out on the floor when they were transporting her in the room. And he goes and opens it up and cleans it off, and comes to find out it's his ex-wife.
The woman in the wheelchair.
The woman that's being gurneyed into the hospital and so forth. And then everything just takes off from there.
And he didn't recognize her.
He didn't recognize her. Well, she looks like she's in her late 60s and so forth.
And how old's Jimmy?
He's like 30s.
Wow.
So
okay.
Trying to figure out what happened, who she is, and then her.
Don't give any more away.
That's all I can give.
Don't give any more away.
Anything more than that would be sacrilege.
Yeah.
For writers.
100%.
Yeah.
No. All right. So, a daughter of a Navy SEAL whose dreams of making the Olympic swim team. I messed swim up twice. Did you catch that?
I caught that. But
swim.
Well, I'll forgive you.
She cut short to a drunk driving accident, only to discover her true heritage.
Yeah. Next question.
Break us into the.
Well, I had this story. Some people thought my friend Stephen was doing, some was it submarine or was it a story before that, Steve?
Submarine, and he was down for
you were
3 months.
No, before. Before the current one. What was the name of that? Hydronauts, hydronauts and so forth. And some people thought that, I'd, kind of like, gotten the idea, from his story. But the truth was, I was sitting there doing my security guard duties, and one of the nurses had come up, and, she had a tattoo on her arm. And I said, what is it? And she looked it up. I mean, it was a really well done tattoo, really beautiful. And I said, what's the name? Because, some people like to name their tattoos. She said it doesn't have one. I said, oh, really? Okay. So, let me, do you mind if I name your tattoo? I've never named a tattoo before.
On somebody else's body, no
Yeah,
less.
especially. So I went ahead and I started looking up, and I found the first mermaid in Roman mythology, name of Atarkatis.
So not Ariel.
No, not Ariel.
Okay.
No. And so that's where I got the idea of using her for, as the basis for this story and so forth, and with a different kind of a different twist.
Yeah.
I can say I can't give away too much more than that. All I can say is she is the daughter of a Navy SEAL, and her as an operation is being performed. It's later on, she discovers her true heritage. So that's all I can say.
That's all
on
we're
it.
getting.
Yeah, that's all I can say on that.
I feel like maybe this one is.
Don't you wish you'd have read the story?
Well, yeah, hell yeah, I do. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, if I'd have known, I thought you had, but if I'd have known, I would have.
Well, we put this together, in my opinion, kind of quick. For a guy like me to read a book, it takes at least a couple years.
Yeah.
So.
Or you could have your fiance read it to you and tell you the story. You're gonna say, honey, I got to get some sleep, do another podcast. Would you read this book for my upcoming show?
Just have her read it to me like a bedtime story.
There you go.
No, I genuinely, I'm excited about this book. I've read your other books, and I can't wait to crack this one open. But yeah, this is why we read the book before we interview Darrell Bartell, because it makes for a much better recording.
And then
we're on to the third.
Yeah,
I want to read it again.
The third one. Go ahead.
See if I can do it without making any mistakes.
All right.
Follow a battle-hardened Marine turned social worker who uses tarot cards to find a notorious serial killer, messed up, back from the dead.
Mm-hmm. And as I was, working there at the hospital, there's social workers that are up there in this office. I think there's like maybe 4 of them in one office. All right.
Is it a big office?
No, it's not. And I was there looking like, okay, wow, like all 4 of you in here, because they've got like all types of paperwork. I mean, whenever somebody comes in, with no identification and so forth, sometimes they're charged with trying to find out who they are. Of course, you got your head nurse in the emergency room.
Right.
But there's only so much she can do, because she's having to do everything. I mean, somebody else, car accident, whatever, gunshot victim, whatever the case, may be, attempted suicide, but there's only so much they can do. The social workers, I mean, they really buckled on to try and find leads, find people, the family members. I remember one individual that he kept, in like 2 days, he kept, the ambulance people kept bringing him in,
Same guy.
Same guy. And 5 times in 2 days.
Damn.
One time I found him, underneath a tree out in a field. I couldn't find out where'd he go, so I went looking for him.
You found him?
I found him underneath the same tree. I had to call. This was like about 50 yards in the field. I had to call. I called an ambulance to get him, bring him back into the ER. They finally got a hold of the guy's family, and when the guy's family come in and told me, I asked him. I said, "What is this guy's problem?" And he said, "Well, he's just. He couldn't have been like 21, 22 years old."
Damn.
I said, he was. I want to say it was a bad breakup or a death in the family, and I said, "Well, could you do us a favor?" He said, "What?" Take him home and make sure he doesn't come back. Because we've got other things. There's only so much the hospital can do, but if you just take him home and get him some help, because there's nothing the hospital can do for him other than, detox him out and so forth.
Is that what it was?
Well, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't even think he probably remembered being at the hospital. But the social workers, they're like thinking, okay, you don't have a lot of stories about social workers. Okay, and that's what I try and do with my stories, my plays, my poems, my short stories, novels, and so forth, is I try and bring a protagonist that doesn't get written about, that often. You don't hear about, social workers and what they have to do behind the scenes, of the hospital. So I thought, okay, so we've got a social worker here. Okay, so what kind of drama can I get her into? And so she ends up meeting a Cajun, or not a Cajun, a voodoo priestess from...
Cajun voodoo priest.
6 of ones have, who's from Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana.
Okay.
All right. Brings... okay, that's my dad over there, okay.
Are you leaving?
You got to stick around. I got to sign the book. Huh? Okay.
Tell you what, Jay, will you grab that book from him, and you want to sign it?
I need to give one to my sister too, Kaylee.
Is she leaving as well?
Kaylee.
We got 2 books here. Here you go.
We got plenty of books here.
All right. Let's get those signed.
Hold on.
Pause for the cause. While Darrell's doing that, I just want to riff a little bit about Fort Worth Roots. We are trying to be a connecting fiber for the community and trying to be as kind of disingenuous. We've been doing it for 5 years. So what we do is we go out to small businesses and we try to see what we can do to help them succeed. You guys have noticed over the last 5 years, places are just closing down left and right. It's kind of wild. Our economy's changing, our society is changing, and there's no way for small businesses, authors, musicians, 501c to get their word out to the community. And so what we're trying to do is make Fort Worth Roots as powerful as possible in order to turn around and give that voice to the folks around us that are trying to make Fort Worth the community that we love, the place that we call home. And if we all don't chip in and try to correct the direction of the ship, it's going to be Cheesecake Factory and Chili's on every corner and Starbucks. You're not going to have mom and pop shops. And Darrell Bartell is an example. If we don't give powerful authors like this a chance to have a voice, a seat at the table, then there might not be an outlet for them. So we're trying to create that outlet. In some ways we have, but it's a whisper, and we want to turn it into a yell. So if y'all like that mission, you can find us on all the social media platforms. If you don't have it, then you can find us online as Fort Worth Roots. If you Google that, if you put it into any search engine, you'll find all of our content. If you are on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's Fort Worth Roots. And happy to give you guys the business cards. We've got QR codes up here on the little counter. In fact, if y'all will follow us right now on Instagram, that little ticker right there will show that you've given us a follow. Darrell Bartell right now is signing multiple books very carefully, making sure that all the personal touches are added. That's what a book signing looks like. You're good. You're good. If y'all haven't been out to McFly's on a Tuesday night for our listeners, we do this every week, and we are trying to get as many of you creative folks out here so that we can give you the spotlight. We're trying to get musicians, authors, podcasters, anybody out there that's just grinding away, trying to get their voice out. That's what we're trying to do. Mr. Bartell, thanks for coming out. Safe travels. Absolutely. Yeah,
For those of you who don't know, Andrew was a big help in giving my dad directions.
Well, there's one benefit to hanging around River Oaks for years. You know what color paint is on every building, and I was able to call them out.
Yeah, and believe me, when you're trying to give an 84-year-old man directions, that's not easy.
It was challenging even with my level of expertise in the area. But
anyway, where were we? Getting back to the book. Anyway,
before we head out,
sure, go ahead.
Your dad, what a trooper! Even though he didn't know how to get here, doesn't know how to use navigation, he still got here.
He still got here. Thanks to you, sir.
So
thanks to you.
A round of applause for your dear old dad. Yeah, in case he's listening. All right, back to the
book.
The nitty gritty.
Anyway, so she to try and not give away too much, she ends up meeting a 103-year-old voodoo priestess from Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana, and
not a Cajun.
Not a Cajun. She might be. Cajun.
Might have been a Cajun.
Might have been Cajun. I don't know. I'll leave it up to the.
They're not synonymous.
Yeah, I'll leave it up to the readers. Anyway, she swears that they've met before, about 200 years ago, when the voodoo priestess, or when she had saved the voodoo priestess' life in another time, in another place, and the story picks up from there, where she's supposed to help or not help. What's the words I'm looking for? Recruit, I guess the name. The social worker into fighting evil, which happens to have come back from the dead.
Excellent.
Which is a serial killer.
Okay.
And that's all I can say. Without
that's all you get.
I can't give away too much.
So we're not done with this interview by a long shot. But before we move on, tell people where they can find your book. Amazon.com,
Barnes & Noble, and of course. Progressive Rising Phoenix Press. The CEO and publisher of that happens to be Amanda Thrasher, who has been, with me on my last, all 4 of my books, and it's just been an incredible journey, thanks to her, her insight and everything, and especially since she hooked me up with a great editor, Jody Amato, out in California. So, I couldn't ask for better company.
Excellent. Got all the shout-outs done there. Rising Phoenix has been with you since we've met.
Yeah.
That's on all your books.
That's on all my books.
I don't know if I was ever successful at this, but I was trying to get you connected with my... Now, there's no first and second place here, you understand?
Right.
My other favorite Fort Worth author, Mark Noble. Have y'all met yet?
I don't think so.
I think I tried to connect you guys, but his direction of writing is more lately, and I haven't read all that Mark has done, but River Oaks, Rock and Roll Roots, and then trying to remember the other one that he just released was another River Oaks book. But he's documenting a lot of really powerful stories of our community, and he has got a great way of putting this stuff together. He's very good at investigating and walked into houses here in River Oaks and pulled old photos out of shoe boxes.
Yeah.
I'm sure ate a lot of cookies and, had all sorts of conversations with 90-year-olds.
Well, all I have to offer is pizza, so I hope nobody's complaining on that.
Well, anyway, the only reason I'm bringing up Mark Nobles is that there's a common thread between you two, and you just have a powerful perspective on reality, like a different way of looking through the lens. Mm-hmm. And that's what always blows me away is whenever you read one of Darrell Bartell's books, I mean, line by line, page by page, you're just like, how did he come up with this? But I mean, so it's fun to sit down with you and talk through it. And we did do that with the last 2 books. And this one, I'm going to read through this one. We're going to have to sit down again. And I don't care what you got on the schedule. We're doing it.
Get your fiance to read it to you as a bedtime story if that's what you want.
Well, we know I can read. Okay, I mean I can do it. I can.
Okay. But, if it's more fun to have your fiance do it,
all right. Megan, are you listening?
I'm not judging. Okay.
Oh, this is going to be a clip. We're going to send it to Megan. and then she's going to read me bedtime stories. Yeah.
Cool.
How long do you think it takes somebody to shoot through one of the 3 stories here in Haunted Tales from the Hospital?
I tried to make this like 10-5 You're Going Home Marine. As a matter of fact, I even brought back.
That one was really quick.
Thank you. I brought back some characters from that book and put them into this book.
Oh, okay, hell yeah.
All right. But I tried making it. Each one just got bigger than the last. When I wrote Halloween story, I was like, okay, that's just a nice little short story, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing. Okay, finally, boom. Then I wrote a different kind of tale, and I was there, and again it kept growing and growing and growing. I said, okay, now I can end it. Then came the third one. What was the name of the third one? Yeah, I can't believe this.
It's okay. Writers, would this be writer's block?
Yeah, this would be writer's block, and which was called The Curant. Well, no wonder I couldn't figure it. Anyway, which deals with tarot cards. The Curant, and so I said, okay, I'm going to do this, and the reason I chose tarot cards is because you don't get stories written by tarot cards, or about tarot cards all that often. So I went ahead and chose that, and then it kept getting out of control and going. And I said, where the flock am I going with this? I get one after the other. Okay, here's thinking about this, thinking about that, and then I finally again, boom. Okay, I can end it. I thought about doing a couple of more stories with it, but I didn't want it to get like too pricey where people couldn't afford it.
So you're just trying to minimize the number of pages that helps with cost?
It does. Sadly, it does. I mean, the number of, especially like hardbacks and paperbacks and so forth, it's getting the cost and everything. And I wish Amanda Thrasher was here. She could probably fill you in more about. Matter of fact, I hope you do an interview with her.
Set us
sometime.
up.
She will definitely
Is she a local?
Alito.
Alito, yeah, that's local.
Okay, so and she could probably give you the entire the spiel about the publishing industry and how it's changing and everything.
We need to bring her out. Yeah.
But with the Curant, a story that doesn't get done that well with tarot cards. It's like, okay, so like what else can I kind of do with this?
Yeah.
So I went on ahead and just kept, I couldn't get the blasted story to end. I kept going on and on and on. It's like, people, even my writers are there, is this going to wrap up anytime soon? I said, no. No, it's taken on a life of its own. And then after I was finished with it, I've still got like another 6 to 9 stories running around in my head for probably a second or third book on Haunted Tales of the Hospital.
So it just never stops.
It doesn't. Unlike 10-5 You're Going Home Marine, which has 23 simple short stories, this just went, took on an entire, each story took on a life of its own.
Yeah. Well, I have so much respect for what you're able to do and put it down in pages in a concise manner, which is entertaining, and there's a gear, I think, that you got to have in your head, right? I mean, how do you come up with these stories? How do you put them in a sequence that's going to be fun, entertaining, and well-rounded?
Well, it takes practice, as my fellow writers know. I'll tell you right now, I never set out to be a writer at all. And it's amazing what you can do when you sit down with pen and paper. My first play, titled No Secrets, was about a man that found true love with the sister of his high school sweetheart. No conflict.
Sure.
And and I had I was studying for psychology test, and I couldn't do it, and I just broke out pen and paper. It was the first, I got the first act, or the first scene of the first act of the play down. And as you know, in 1998, I started, January of 1998, I started keeping your journal. Because it keeps the writer, the juices flowing. It keeps the juices flowing. And you write about your hopes, your dreams, your fears, people you've met, the friends, the women I've loved, the friends I've made, over the years, good friends that have passed away, friendships that I've lost and I missed. You write down, what you're doing, your story, It takes practice. It takes practice. I guess to reword a quote from Ernest Hemingway that Stephen had brought to us to the group. It's easy. Writing's easy. Anybody can write. Anybody can write a play, a poem, a short story, or even a novel. All you have to do is sit down in front of your computer, open up an artery, and bleed out all over the keyboard.
Oh my God!
That's seriously. That's it's that easy.
Okay.
But it takes practice, and in order to go
do
ahead,
not try that at home, by the way.
and in order to write, for anybody, anyways, especially for my fellow writers, to go ahead and write these kind of stories or any kind of genre, it takes practice. It takes determination. And it takes, also, a good friend, good friends, and like I have my writers group. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, John. Thank you. And where you've got, with us writers, I mean, the ego's obviously got to get parked at the door. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you can't be afraid to have your feelings hurt. I mean, I've had some good, strong critiques, and I've had a couple in there, and they're like, "You guys, seriously, seriously," But when I look back on it and go, they're right. This does suck, and you've got to, take, the constructive criticism, the good with the bad. Okay, so, one of the things that whenever we have, with the writers group, is the criticism is always constructive because they bring in some fresh ideas. They see things like I wouldn't have this character do this, but I'd have this character do that, and you go, oh crap, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
And when you rewrite it, because that's what you do as a writer, you got to rewrite.
Got to go all the way back, make sure it all makes sense.
It does. It does. When I had the privilege of meeting Edward Albee up in Valdez, Alaska, many years ago, during a theater conference, he said, rewriting, whenever you take up any occupation of writing, whether it's short story, playwriting, newspaper writing, magazine article writing, poetry, whatever the case may be, obituary writing, rewriting is the nature of the beast, okay? You have to deal with it.
Yeah.
There's no way of getting around it, under it, over it. You've got to deal with it. You've got to go through it. And I've always carried that advice with me, to this day.
Well, if you want to get away from it, you can be a podcaster because I never take anything down. Well, and that's the benefit too. This being our third recording.
Yeah.
Though the last two, the two that we've done before, they're eternal. As long as we keep the show up on the internet, those never go away.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I love it. I love it because and I don't know. I don't know if But
you do it so well.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I could probably do a lot better. I might want to go to some college courses or something. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I need a writers group. Yeah. That's what I need.
Well, nothing wrong with it. I mean, you've always got to add tricks to the trade. You always got to put extra arrows in your quiver.
Yeah, and I do want to find better ways of interviewing, and hey, pro tip: read the book before you sit down with an author. That's one, but yeah, there's a litany of things, and I've found the way that I talk to people in the podcast and in my social media videos, it's a little clunky. It's a little kind of antagonistic, I feel like. And just from me watching it, I'm going, that's not the way I want to come off, you know? So I think it's great that you have a writer's group. You've got a room of people that you can kind of field test everything with. I think everybody needs that in any kind of creative arena.
Well, what I teach my students when it comes to in job interviews is that the industry is always changing.
Oh, yeah.
And what I tell them is times change. People and organizations have to change with the times if they're going to survive.
Sure.
If they don't, organizations go out of business.
Circuit City.
And employees go online to file for unemployment.
Montgomery Ward, Sears.
Yeah, exactly. And podcasting is, no different. The cream always rises to the top. Like writing, podcasting, poker playing in Vegas, the cream always rises to the top. And that's what we struggle to do is to rise, to the top.
I want to be the cream.
But nothing wrong with that.
I'm trying to be extra creamy.
Nothing wrong with that, sir. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, what's in the future for Darrell? What do you got coming up next?
Right now, teaching at Tarrant County College.
Well, that's over. Summer's out.
Summer's out, but I'm supposed to have 3 summer 2 classes.
Oh, no.
Yes. And I'm supposed to have some classes over in the fall.
No rest for the wicked.
No, I'm trying. What time off I do have, I'm going to focus on trying to get my second vampire book underway. Maybe,
Amen, brother.
Maybe my second. I'm probably a lot closer to finishing the Corona monologues than I am burying the vampire.
Which were also good. I really want to know what happens next with burying the vampire.
So do I. So do I. I want to know what happens next. But it's just a long it's a long road. It's a long journey. I try to, and of course I'm always, writing in my journal. I don't know if I've told you this, but my journals and so forth, right now I've got like 65, working on coming up on 66. I've been keeping them since January 1st, 1998. They're all going to Texas Wesleyan Archives.
Okay.
I stopped over there with, I believe his name is Louis Sherwood, and he said, sure, all we need is, a piece of paper, and so it's this. And
now what are they going to do with it?
they're going to keep them, for...
prosperity.
Prosperity and so forth. You're familiar with, to give you an idea, and I don't know the extent of his collection, but you're familiar with Amon G. Carter?
Yes.
Okay.
Big fan, by the way.
Yeah. Dave,
got a story when you're done.
Dave Liebert, who wrote a one-man play about Amon G. Carter. The research he did, he went to the TCU library and went through the entire Amon G. Carter collection, which consisted of 440 boxes.
Damn.
They even had his boots.
What?
Did
they have his hat?
They had his hat. I want to say they had his hat.
Ooh, that'd go for a lot of money.
Amon G. Carter was like, the father of Fort Worth, because he helped, bring in everything from WBAP radio, television to Carswell Air Force Base. It was just phenomenal as to what he...
Did you know we're sitting right down the street from 400 acres of protected land thanks to Amon Carter?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, YMCA Camp Carter, right down the street.
I did not know that.
It's beautiful. Anyway, continue.
But so I don't know if I'm going to be as famous as Amon G. Carter, but the stories that I've kept over the last 27 years, I don't know when I'm going to end it. Probably when I run out of journals, because I got all my journals from Borders Bookstore, which went out of business, years ago. And when I found out it was going out of business, I went on a Borders Bookstore tour, looking for every journal. I even went all the way up to Allen just so I could get the last journal that they had, which is a thick 300 pages, I think.
Okay, that's a good grab.
Yeah, so I've got I want to say maybe 6 or 7 journals left. Then I've got to go find something else to fits my my style, and because as I proceed and as I continue, it's just you continue the journey.
Yeah,
continue the journey, the writing journey.
That's cool, man. Glad you've got enough foresight to do that. That's really cool.
And I've got Nigel. Welcome.
Nigel's here, everybody.
This is Nigel. He's the president. He's the president of our writers group.
Excellent.
Glad
he can make it.
Yeah. Grab you a slice of pizza, get something to drink at the bar, sir.
Well, Nigel, you're just in time, and for everybody else in here, I would like to invite you to come on up to the audience microphone if you've got any questions for Darrell Bartell.
Stephen,
we are ready for you.
All right, name's Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Not going to embarrass you.
No,
come on.
First off,
maybe a
say
little.
the full name, please. Say the full name and what books you've written, please.
No. Steve Southern.
No.
All I want. This is about you. So you have mentioned that one of the common themes of your writing is to pick things that people haven't written about.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anything else that you would characterize that sums up your writing? Common themes, common styles, genres, that kind of stuff.
Well, in the interview that we did, you had mentioned how dark my writing was, and I didn't think it was that dark. And then as we progressed in the interview, I thought maybe it is kind of dark. I basically write, just whatever comes to mind. I'm not like oh gosh, well, what's her? I can't think of her. Her name, or like not the author I was thinking of, but J.K. Rowling. We got theme of Harry Potter books, and it keeps on, which really imaginative. But I just write whatever comes to mind. Like I should have had my second Barry and the Vampire book out by now. I haven't because something else took precedence, and Corona Monologues and Haunted Tales. So we'll see what happens later on in the next 5 years. Come on in. It's all right. Don't be shy.
Welcome. Okay, maybe over there at the bar they can help you.
What?
No, someone from Trinity Metro is here to pick someone up.
Anybody?
Anybody know? There's
once,
also
going
a patio, madam.
Right
through that door.
Yeah, okay.
Never a dull moment.
That's true. I didn't know Trinity Metro came out here.
I'm glad they do.
Yeah.
That's a service that people might need.
But I hope that answers your question. Steve. Okay.
Who do we have up next on the audience microphone? Sir, can we get you up there?
Brian.
He looks like a real believer.
Thanks for being here tonight.
A little closer to the mic.
Thanks for being here tonight.
All right, there we go.
Your government name, sir?
Brian Young.
Hi, Brian.
And I'll give you my bibliography. It's ridiculously short. 2 poems published with Tarrant County College.
Excellent.
Okay.
And a devotional with Upper Room. One day I want to grow up and be a real writer. Not there yet.
We all do.
Darrell, I first met you probably 17 years ago.
Yeah.
At a place, Rack Daddy's, very similar to this, but with more pool tables.
Right.
But these are good pool tables. Really good.
I would love to know more about the journey that got you from amateur poker player and dealer to literary professor, writer, with stints as security guard, etc. And even though you did a podcast on this, I sadly missed it. I really want to know your favorite story out of 10-5. And why is it Ace of Mercy?
Could you tell by the way he wrote it that was his favorite?
It's hard to say if I've got a...
It was moving. It's one of several that could be expanded into a full novel. Several of those could be like, a TV episode vis-a-vis Twilight Zone or American Horror Story.
Well, if you know of anybody that's doing film projects, okay, by all means.
Will you work on spec?
I might. It depends.
I know some folks at Media for Texas, and I'll put your name in.
Oh, dude, thank you. Thank you. I mean,
It won't go anywhere, but I'll do it anyway.
Right.
I'll do it anyway.
Ace
You're
of
probably
Mercy,
right.
Movie, book, that could be expanded.
It's hard to say that I've got a favorite. Probably Ace of Mercy, of course. Because of women who've been abused. I think Orange Crush. I sat down in a little hole in the wall gas station and just said I've got some time before a poker game, and so I just came up with it, and I like to try and give a twist, as to each of my stories.
Orange Crush was beautiful. When I picked up your book, I skimmed the table of contents. I was like, oh, he's got a little bit of everything here. And just the title, Orange Crush, I was like, okay, I'm going to read that one first. And, it's a quick 5-minute read, 2.5 pages, and I loved it. It's brilliant.
Thank you. 10-5, you're going home, Marine. As to poker playing. In some ways, I found little ways to try and honor veterans. Mm-hmm. There's just so much thing. What is it? The measure of family values. Mm-hmm. I would say that was probably, out of all of them, that was definitely my most darkest, because I had a teenage girl that could go and see dead people, and communicate with dead people, and help her father solve murder mysteries and so forth. But that was definitely the one.
So
murder.
Sixth Sense meets Veronica Mars. Is that what I'm hearing here?
That might be. That's one way to look at it. I never thought of it that way. Anyway, so and I kind of contributed that basically for workaholics, people who are who put work over family.
Been there.
And yeah, me too. And where they go ahead and like they wake up and go, oh crap, there's because all of them at one point or another have to have like a wake up call to realize what's really important. All right.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I wrote to the story, to like, oh crap, no, I got to back up and regroup. The main character, her parents were, due to her father being a workaholic, they had marital problems. The parents were separated, and then when it came to, what they found in the house, that was like, his wake up call, like, nope, I ain't gonna do this no more.
So these great ideas you have, especially for this story, turned into an epiphany for your personal life. Whereas like a lot of us, it would be the other way around.
Well, it's, I get my idea. Current events, to any writer, current events are the best resources you're ever going to have when it comes to writing. Okay, your personal life, great resource to have, for writing. My father, who just left here, he comes from a family of 9 girls and 7 boys.
Wow.
All right, my grandfather immigrated from Wisconsin to Minnesota in a covered wagon with his first wife, had 4 children. She died. Married my grandmother, my dad's wife, and the stories that, oh my God, the stories that him and 2 others, the only 3 surviving siblings from that, and all the stories that they had. Like, I didn't know that my grandfather was a bounty hunter, and what I mean by bounty hunter, he was going after wolves and bears that were taking out livestock. And he,
fugitives of another sort.
Pretty much, he would kill them. He would take the animal home for meat, and then he would also bring the pilot, and he'd collect the bounty off of them. So
wow. Win-win.
Yeah, win-win, a win-win. So I remember one story. I wish he was here. If I got the story right when he told me, he said they found a bobcat frozen. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the winters of Minnesota, but they found a bobcat frozen. It's frozen stiff outside. They brought him in and they just laid it down there in front of the fireplace. And about an hour later, he got up and started walking around.
And then what?
And I think my grandfather didn't appreciate it too much and put him back outside. What happened to him afterwards, I'm not sure if they shoo or they
You can't keep a bobcat in the house.
Or if anything that survives that has earned the right to walk out the door.
Well, I don't know if it was that, or they had some interesting stew. So I'm not sure which one it was. I'd have to
got rid of it one way or the other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks, Darrell. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Brian, before you run off, Brian, right?
Brian
Young. Where can people find your work?
Come on.
I have a blog that nobody reads.
Where's it?
That's about it. It's including myself. Let me think. You could try bky556.blogspot.com. That might be it.
Okay, right on. Well, that's part of what we try to do. We're here to celebrate Darrell Bartell and his new book, but also on Tuesday nights we like to give everybody a chance to just kind of shout out their thing. So if that's your thing, cool.
Well, I was going to say I'll abuse that moment real quick to mention another local author, Samantha Golliker.
Okay.
She was self-promoting out of a Starbucks, and I went back and got some of her books, handwritten flyers with descriptions. Very dedicated.
Nice.
She's got a series called Land of Arlen. It's brilliant. So I'll plug her instead.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the question.
Guys, we got anything else for Darrell?
Come on, Nigel.
All right, Nigel.
Sir, please state your full name and how we're acquainted with each other.
Government name.
Okay. Nigel Blackwell, a country of origin, UK.
All right.
Long time ago. So, and
he got here as quick as he could. So.
I'm wearing out because I spent the weekend moving mulch, and now my back doesn't want to move at all. So, but nevertheless, so Brenda's just left. But you write some pretty grim, gruesome things every now and then. We read some of this stuff and what have you. So, like, and I'm really hoping you're not going to surprise us here. But where do you get your inspiration? Where do you find that comes from?
True stories. Some from the hospital that I worked at. Some, imagination. I try to do as research. As Dr. Mike Bomajan from our group. He was a big help in answering all the questions there that I had.
Getting a minute.
It's just,
right.
but it's just, it's like I said.
Any movies?
I'm sorry.
Any movies?
Not that I know of.
Not that your stuff's been made into movies. What horror movies?
Horror movies. Oh wow,
Yeah.
horror movies. I would. It's funny you should mention that. I guess start sharing one of the very, very, very first horror movie. I was in the second grade, and my best friend Harry Wade, who I haven't seen or heard from in eons, like decades, went and took me to see House of Dark Shadows. But Barnabas Collins and Josette Dupre and Maggie Evans and all that, and sat there because I was familiar with the the House of Dark Shadows series, but that was a movie that was like, holy crap. I mean, we didn't even stay for the ending. We got up and out of the theater when it was like about the last 10 minutes of the play or the movie. And then a couple of movies that I've seen is you could probably have an inspiration. One was Carl Kolchak, The Night Stalker, and Carl Kolchak, the Night Strangler, which starred Darren McGavin, which are just cool as hell. I mean, it's a reporter tracking down a vampire and a 144-year-old serial killer.
Right.
It's awesome.
Because it's kind of different. Your books like being set in a hospital. I can't think of many horror movies that are set in a hospital.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I try and do. Something that has not been set. It has a different setting, a different style, different protagonist. Who writes about social workers and tarot cards? Right. Who writes about security officers, for crying out loud? I mean, I don't know of anybody. Daughter of a Navy SEAL. I mean, you don't hear that very coming out very often. Right. So I try to I try to get inspiration. I'll try and get creative. It's it's dark. And especially with this is probably some of the darkest stuff that I've written, Haunted Tales from the Hospital, and I've got other dark stories running around in my mind that I'm trying to
put a bow on.
Put them on hold because I want to focus on Burying the Vampire, my second vampire novel.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's coming on.
Yeah.
You've been doing some of it, so that's good.
Nigel, tell us about your writing group.
Yes, please tell us.
And where we can find it.
You haven't told him already?
No, I have told him, but
sir,
you're the president of the group.
Okay, so Fort Worth Writers, it's a group that's been around 30-something years. Steve will know, it's 30 odd years.
Give or take.
It grows and shrinks in size, but it's around about 20 to 30 people, something like that. We meet every week at the
church.
Blank. The church. Yeah. I know, I drive there every week and I can't
Nancy's not here.
What's?
It's a Presbyterian church.
Yeah. I don't know the name. That's true.
And we have
there's a
They're
church.
not going to let us in anymore.
It's in Fort Worth.
It's in Fort Worth.
Okay.
And we have a website. Don't forget our website.
Yeah, okay, all right. Simple as it's just, we have a website, right, fortworthwriters.net.
Okay.
And it tells you there, we meet every week. We start at, we open the doors at 9 o'clock. We run till noon. We critique people's work. We also discuss, all the things that we're doing in writing, from sales to, how to create plots, how to create characters, how to create interest in stories, how to create tension, conflict, all that kind of thing.
How often do you guys meet?
Every week.
Every week.
Saturday.
Okay.
Every Saturday. Yep.
Excellent.
9 o'clock. But yeah.
Well, I've got to give you guys a big thank you. This has been one of the best episodes we've ever done, best recordings we've ever done at McFly's, from the audience interaction and just helping us get through the show. This has been great. So thank you guys so much. Make sure.
Are we wrapping this up?
We got to.
Oh,
yeah.
darn.
We lose the room at 7, so we're pressed for time.
Hi.
But you guys make sure and get a copy of this. Darrell Bartell is set up to receive your payments and make signatures. Yeah. Big round of applause for Darrell Bartell. Buy a book. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Simply put. Darrell, you got anything before we get out of here?
Andrew, thanks again for setting this up and
Man,
appreciate it and everything.
We've been hanging out for a long time. I can't
a bit,
wait
yeah.
to read this book
Okay.
and then sit down with you again in the near future. Probably nearing one of your next releases, but then I'll have 2 books to read.
Okay.
And
If
you can bring your friend from the publishing company.
If you want to bring me back after you finish reading it, great.
Say again?
If you wanna bring me back.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
For sure. That'll work, and then we can also get you on for the next release.
Sure. And bring.
And the next release should be the Barry and the Vampire.
Yeah. We hope.
Part 2.
We hope. God,
We're all hoping. I'm seeing a lot of
hoping.
nods here.
Yeah,
Everybody's
it's-
agreeing with me.
yeah. But,
Now, what's the best resource for people to go to find your content? I mean, I know they can get it on Amazon and everywhere else, but
the three best resources are Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and Progressive Rising Phoenix Press.
excellent.
All right.
Thank you for your
you-
friendship,
well,
and thank
thank
you
you, sir.
for always being a reliable guest.
I tried. I do my best.
And you keep this up because we love these books.
Well, you read it and let me know how you love it.
I know I'm going to love it. All right,
Okay.
folks. Thank y'all again, and we'll be right back here at McFly's Pub next Tuesday. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We're getting close to episode 400. If you don't know, we do 5 episodes every week. We've got this one, the Tuesday live audience recording out at McFly's Pub, but we also do 4 morning show episodes every week, Monday through Thursday, out to you by 9 a.m. If you have an event, if you got anything going on, just holler at us. You can leave us a voice message through Instagram's messaging app, or you can send it through email, media@fortworthroots.com. Just make sure it's like MP3 or WAV, nothing weird. And we'll play it on the show. Just talk about what you got coming up. If you're a business owner and you got an event, we want to know. If you're a musician, you got a new single coming out, tell us. If you're an author and you're about to drop a new book, let us help you share that information. All right, let's get into these sponsors. And by the way, before I go any further, if you need to get a hold of me, it's media@fortworthroots.com. I'm also pretty good at getting back to you through the social medias. Sometimes it's like drinking from a fire hydrant, but I'll eventually get to you. And if you've been waiting on me to get back to you and I haven't, I'm not mad at you. I lost your message. I think about that all the time. Every once in a while I'll be like, oh, what was that one thing I was going to do with that one person? Oh my God, where's that message? And I can't find it. So anyway, media@fortworthroots.com. And if you have to holler at me twice to get my attention, I'm sorry, but I'm not mad at you, I promise. All right, let's talk about these sponsors helping us keep the lights on. Donovan Manufacturing. We just went down with them to Dilley, Texas, to a place called the Ranch, Texas, to not participate, but be a fly on the wall for Police Week. It was awesome. Got to watch them run through the shoot house, mobility courses, door breaching, sniper tower, all sorts of crazy stuff. So if you want to see what that looks like, go to our Instagram, or you can go to the_ranch_Texas and see what they got going on down there. Also, Donovan MFG on Instagram is a great place to see some of that action. But we do have a few things that we captured on our Instagram, which of course is Fort Worth Roots. Okay. Donovan Manufacturing is donovanmfg.com. Night vision, thermals, machine gun rentals, AR-15 parts, classes, and more. Also under the same umbrella, get all of your print needs through our friends' banners, vehicle wraps, business cards, brochures, T-shirts, and anything else you might need. Find information about the print shop on Facebook at Dylan-Press. Also, you can email them directly, dylan@dylan-press.com. Purple Web Consulting, our buddy Jeff Zero has started his own business, and he is trying to make the small business owner prepared to compete with the big dogs. purplewebconsulting.com, website design and hosting, e-commerce integration, digital strategy, and consulting. 817-629-6069. Fort Worth Float Company. Y'all might have seen, if you're following me on social media, I just went and did a float for the first time in like 7 or 8 years, and it was trippy, man. There's no reason to comment on my psychedelic intake during my 40 years, but so there's no way to know why I know this. But the float tank got a little trippy. It was a little psychedelic in there. Like you have nothing but your thoughts. It's dead quiet. There's no sound, just the sounds inside your own head, and no light getting in. And you're sitting in a solution that keeps you suspended in the water. You're not having to like learn how to float or anything. Physics takes care of that. But it's a great experience, and it's a wonderful gift idea, and it's the only locally owned place where you can do this. It's called Fort Worth Float Company. Deprivation tanks, ice plunge, sauna, other things. They've got a couple other services for mental health and relaxation that you need to take advantage of. Located centrally off of River Oaks Boulevard, just outside of Fort Worth in River Oaks. Yeah, all the good stuff. Find them at FW Float Company on Instagram for all that kind of information. And if you're looking for a sick deal, you can go to my Instagram, Fort Worth Roots, and click on our, bio, and we got a link there for a custom deal for Fort Worth Roots listeners that you can take advantage of for a huge savings. So check that out. Again, that's Fort Worth Float Company, and we highly suggest that one. Hoppin, Weisenberger Street. No more waiting for the bartender. Simply walk up to the wall of taps, scan your armbands, and enjoy. Listen, I didn't get permission to tell you guys this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. May 31st is the last day for Hoppin. So if you like that place, or if you never got a chance to go check it out, now's your last chance. Go in there and see what you're going to be missing. Really awesome place, and I hate that the owners, Holly and Michael, our friends, are having to go through this. It's absolutely gut-wrenching to watch. But I know that they'd love for you to stop by one more time. Hoppin is located on Weisenberger Street, right down from Doc's Records, right next door to Black Land Distillery, 1 block north of the Target on West 7th. Go by and say goodbye. Davis Team. Look no further than our friends at the Davis Team for all of your property needs. No commitment necessary. If you have any questions about property, then visit them online, yourdavisteam.com, 817-755-0504. Galaxy Wilderness Disc Golf. They will come out. They will set up an entire disc golf course for you. Baskets, discs, glow-in-the-dark stuff, whatever you want. They'll set it up, and when you're done, they'll come and they'll break it down for you. You can get them by email at galaxywildernessdg@gmail.com or 682-228-0399. The Body Scrubbery, our homegirl Michelle over there at the Body Scrubbery, located on Pennsylvania Avenue. They got everything you need. It's a boutique and unique spa experience. Don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. Luxury foot spa, full body scrubs, infrared heat wraps, massage, bubble tubs, mud wraps, facials, couples packages, and small group parties. Get them online at thebodyscrubbery.com or Instagram at thebodyscrubbery. And Roofing Solutions by Darren Houck. I swear to God, if I drive by your house and you have anybody else touching that thing, these are the folks you want. These are the ones you can trust. You can look them up online yourself and see that they have the highest ratings in DFW. Roofing Solutions by Darren Houck can take care of your commercial and residential needs, small or big projects, no problem. RoofingSolutionsHouck.com or 817-882-6520. Se hablar español. And if you tell them that you heard about them on Fort Worth Roots, they'll do a roofing tune-up for you, which you need at least every 2 years here in North Texas. Our roofs take a pounding from the heat, from the hail, from the wind. Let them get up there, recaulk all the pipe jacks, vent covers, things like that, and they'll be able to identify any moisture points where water's getting in. Granule loss, things like that. And they can just kind of give you a status on what your roof is, what the longevity of it looks like based on what they saw while they're doing that. So I believe the 50% off gets somebody out there and taking care of all that stuff for you for $250. If they get up there and they say, hey, look, there's too much damage, we can't do it for $250, they will not charge you a thing. And if you want to get the insurance process started, they'll help you. But this is not a bait and switch. This is not high-pressured sales. They're just trying to be upfront with you, like, hey, the price was $250, but we can't do that. There's too much damage up there. All right, McFly's Pub, 6104 LTJG Barnett Road, where we did this recording today. A badass little 1980s Back to the Future themed bar with an excellent outdoor patio, complete with fire pit and room for your fur baby. Daily drink specials and fun activities almost every day of the week. See what's new at McFly's on their Instagram page at McFly's Pub. And I sincerely would love for you to come out Tuesdays. Get on that audience microphone and let people know what you got going on. That's what we're doing it for. And then finally, Cloudland Recording Studios. Find them online, cloudlandrecordingstudio.com. Cloudland Recording Studio is an analog and digital recording studio located in the heart of Fort Worth, just 1 mile from downtown and 5 minutes from the near Southside Entertainment District of Magnolia Avenue. I have seen the work that comes out of that studio, and if you are a musician and you're looking for somebody to help you master that track or get your album completed, you need to take it to Joe Tacky over there at Cloudland Recording Studios. Not just because he has selflessly decided that he's going to help support the Fort Worth Roots podcast, because the dude's a maniac. He knows what he's doing. And there are other studios that are really good at what they do, but this is another one of them. Is it the best? You'll have to go and decide for yourself. CloudlandRecordingStudio.com. Tell Joe I said hi. All right. That's all of our sponsors for this week, guys. We will be back with Kaylee Ryan Melodies on Tuesday, 5 o'clock at McFly's Pub. And we really hope that we get to see you out there. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Oh, before I forget, I am rushing through all of this. In fact, forgive me if the episode was just a tad bit rushed or sloppy, because I am going to Cicada tonight. We are still losing businesses left and right, and we can't save them all. I understand the economy the way it is. This stuff is just going to happen. The property owners, they keep jacking up the rent, and us, the consumers, we're broke. Everything's more expensive. We do not have the expendable income we had 5 years ago. I get all that. But Cicada might be another one of those ones you're about to say goodbye to. So come hang out. I'm going to have this episode up hopefully in the next 30 minutes, and you guys can meet me out there. I think doors start at 6:30, but you got one hell of a lineup. So go check that out. Maybe your last time to get to go to Cicada. I don't know. All right. Sorry for the doom and gloom. I love you. Mean it. We'll see you next time. Peace.